Welcome to our online worship service for First Unitarian Society in Ithaca, a community that creates connection, finds inspiration, and engages the world, even among these uncertain times. We are glad that you have carved out a time to be together this morning, even in this new way. I'd imagine we have some folks joining us who have not joined us before, maybe from other congregations in our cluster. A special shout out to our friends in Athens, Pennsylvania, or from the Ithaca community, or who otherwise are joining us for the first time. Welcome, welcome, welcome. There is a lot of uncertainty right now, but we are certain that we need one another. A few announcements before we begin, with the first one being from Sharon Kostianis.
Good morning. Thank you, Magdalene. I am Sharon Kostianis, speaking to you on behalf of the Stewardship Committee today. I'd like to share another Spark Magic testimonial, this week from an anonymous contributor. It's magical when I help folks find just what they need in the housewares room at the recycle sale. They go on to say, it is also magical feeling alive with palpable compassion and the spirit of each unique member of this body. When I really tune in, I am overwhelmed with love. Again, that's from an anonymous contributor. Palpable compassion. When our current circumstances are overwhelming in so many ways, we can experience a palpable compassion that brings us to our knees. This connection that we share in the body of FUSIT in this society that fills us with overwhelming love. Our UU faith and this community those things are all essential right now. At a time when some of our other fundraising efforts, like the recycle sale, are uncertain, your pledge of support for First Unitarian will be more important than ever, because we need each other's compassion and support in the coming days, weeks, and months more than ever. On behalf of myself and my co-chair, David Solomon, and the entire stewardship team, I come to you again this week with incredible thanks. Now, you may remember that last year was a record-breaking year for our stewardship drive. You all went above and beyond to support this community with your pledges. Magic must truly be in the air, because we have now surpassed where we were in our efforts last year at the same time. As of Saturday morning, we had received 161 pledges and raised a total of $284,774. No, we are not done. We have not met our goal yet this year. Members of the stewardship team will continue to call and thank those of you who have already made your pledge to our Spark the Magic fundraising campaign. And we'll be calling some of you who haven't pledged yet as well. We look forward to taking the time to connect and check in with you. And your pledge is your promise, a promise that helps the board budget and plan for the year ahead. There's no need to make your payment immediately. Please consider giving from a place of hope and generosity, if you can, to yourself and to others as we weather this storm together. There are several ways to make your pledge: online, by text, by phone, or in the post. Options are all available on the FUSIT website, uuithaca.org. Simply click on the Spark Magic button to find your way. If you have questions about pledging, please feel free to reach out to myself or to David Solomon, or there's more information again on the website, uuithaca.org. And thank you, thank you, thank you for the magic that you each bring to our First Unitarian community.
Thank you so much, Sharon. I would also like to offer a very sincere thanks to everyone who contributed to our shared plate offering 2 weeks ago for FoodNet Meals on Wheels. We raised over $800 for this incredibly important program. Please be sure to check your email, our Facebook page, and our church website for more information on how you can create connections amidst this experience of physical distancing. For instance, in-person meetings have moved to online formats using Zoom, Things like newcomers inspired, connected, and engaged, or NICE meetings, meetings of our ministry teams and committees and small group ministries. Each Monday morning, we send out an email to everyone on our email list with the upcoming opportunities for engagement for the week. If you'd like to receive these updates, please email office@uuithaca.org to be added to the list. Wendy Wolf will now be giving the opening words on behalf of the Environmental Interest Circle, who is giving our service today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Magdalene. And happy Earth Day, everyone. As many of you know, this Wednesday is the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. So we are bringing you a special service this morning, again, from the Environmental Interest Circle. Our opening words are from the United Nations Environmental Sabbath program called A Prayer of Commitment. We join with the earth and with each other to bring new life to the land, to restore the water, to refresh the air. We join with the earth and with each other to celebrate the seas, to rejoice in the sunlight, to sing the song of the stars. We join with the earth and with each other to recreate the human community, to promote justice and peace, to remember our children. We join with the earth and with each other. We join together as many and diverse expressions of one loving mystery for the healing of the earth and the renewal of all life. Thanks.
The flaming chalice is the symbol of mystics and heretics, artists and activists, reformers, refugees, and Unitarian Universalists everywhere. I now light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action.
For our opening song this morning, we're going to be singing the Garden Song by David Millay. Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All you need is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warm them from below till the rains come tumbling down. Pulling weeds and picking stones, we are made of dreams and bones. Need a place to call my own, for the time is near at hand. Grain for grain, sun and rain, find my way through nature's chain. Tune my body and my brain till the music of the land. Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All you need is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warm them from below till the rains come tumbling down. Plant your rows straight and long, seasoned with a loving song. Mother Earth will make you strong if you give her love and care. An old crow watching hungrily from his perch in yonder tree. In my garden I'm as free as that feathered thief up there. Inch by inch, row by row,
welcome to Time for Wonder. I want to tell you about one of my favorite things about where I live. We have this beautiful creek that runs all the way along our yard. I love that creek. We find fossils in the rocks down there and salamanders squiggling around. It's so peaceful to sit nearby and listen to the water trickle. But sometimes I find something not so exciting in there. You see, this creek runs along a lot of other people's yards in our neighborhood. And on windy days, if people's trash and recycle bins are out for pickup, the wind can blow the trash or recyclables into the creek. We find lots of trash down there. And when we find it, we dispose of it properly. But we're not in there all day long, every day. If we miss something, this creek runs all the way down to Cayuga Lake, and the trash can end up in the lake. The trash can be really bad for the creatures that live in the lake. And so even though me and my neighbors think that we're doing the right thing by putting trash out by the road to get picked up in recyclables, we're trying to recycle, often the trash or the recycling can end up where it shouldn't be. I think though that we can try and reduce the amount of trash that we make by buying things with less waste, buying less things, but also reusing some of the stuff we would normally put in trash or recycling. Like this aluminum can, we made it into a lantern. And this yogurt cup, I made it into a planter, and now I'm growing baby trees. I was doing some exploring online and I found a company that takes old plastic bags and turns them into change purses. And then another company that takes old plastic bottles and makes them into shoes. So in honor of our beautiful earth and to celebrate Earth Day, I'm challenging you to see how creative you can get with some of the stuff you would normally throw away or recycle. What can you reuse or make into something new that you would have just gotten rid of? Watch Facebook for a post about this challenge this week. Happy Earth Day, everyone.
Good morning. My name is Whitney Wiggins. I'm so glad to be here with all of you today. If you have a joy or a sorrow you'd like to have shared during our online service, please send it to Reverend Margaret by 9 a.m. on Sunday morning. Her email address is minister@uuithaca.org. And keep in mind that our service is live streamed when you consider the private nature of your joy or sorrow. In the spirit of reverence, love, and care, we take time now to bear witness to some of the joys and sorrows of our community. We want to share those events that call for our prayers and support, our praise and celebration. From Wendy Wolf, on behalf of the Environmental Interest Circle, I want to thank Sasha Paris for tirelessly finding and submitting the weekly environmental tips in the Fuse It newsletter. Thanks so much for taking an idea suggested at a meeting and making it happen for over a full year now. Many people have commented on how much they appreciate the tips. What a joy it is for you to share your talents this way. I would like to express my gratitude to all of the teachers, parents, and students who are mindfully moving, teaching, and learning during this confusing and difficult time. For those we are holding in our thoughts, in our hearts, and perhaps in our prayers, let us call these names out loud into this community and into this space of healing and hope right now. We extend loving kindness to all in our world, and let us not forget to extend loving kindness to ourselves. Today, tomorrow, and beyond, may our hands be outstretched in kindness, and let us keep showing up to our lives and each other with an open heart, no matter what. Love and courage to us all. Blessed be, and amen.
For our meditation today, I will be reading a Chinook blessing, which is a call and response, and I invite you to join in with me on the response. We call upon the earth, our planet home, with its beautiful depths and soaring heights, its vitality and abundance of life, and together we ask that it teach us and show us the way. We call upon the waters that rim the earth, that flow in our rivers and streams, that fall upon our gardens and fields, and we ask that they teach us and show us the way. We call upon the creatures of the fields and forests and seas, our brothers and sisters, the wolves and deer, the eagle, the great whales and salmon who share our home, and we ask them to teach us and show us the way. We call upon all those who have lived on this earth, our ancestors, and upon whose lives our lives are built. And with thanksgiving, we call upon them to teach us and show us the way. And lastly, we call upon all that we hold most sacred, the presence and power of the great spirit of love and truth which flows through all the universe, to be with us, to teach us and show us the way. And I want to thank Mary Woodson, who had planned to read this today but was having technical difficulty, as she helped to abbreviate this for today's service. And now I'll have a brief moment of silence before we go on to the next song.
The earth is our mother. We must take care of her. The earth is our mother. We must take care of her. Hey, young-a-ho, young-a, hey, young-young. Hey, young-a-ho, young-a, hey, young-young. Her sacred ground we walk upon. With every step we take, her sacred ground we walk upon. With every step we take. Hey, young-a-ho, young-a, hey, young-young. Hey, young-a-ho, young-a, hey, young-young. The earth is our mother. She will take care of us. The earth is our mother. She will take care of us. Hey, young-a-ho, young-a, hey, young-young. Hey, young-a-ho, young-a, hey, young-young.
Jack, can you switch to Magdalene?
Each week, we take an offering to sustain the important ministries and programs of this congregation and its presence in Ithaca. Today, we will be accepting your gifts to our church in a variety of ways, via text, on our website, or by placing payment in the mail. We are committed to being the church in this crisis, and we need your support. This includes full payment to all staff, including paid sick leave for those who cannot do their work from home. May these gifts support connection, inspiration, and engagement for this congregation and the way it ministers to the world. This morning's offering will now be gratefully given and received.
All right, this next song that we'll be singing is a call and response. And I have some great help today by my friend Cecilia. The earth is my mother.
The earth is my mother.
She's good to me.
She's good to me.
She gives me everything that I ever need.
She gives me everything that I ever need.
table,
food on the table,
the clothes I wear,
the clothes I wear,
the sun and the water and the cool fresh air.
the sun and the water and the cool fresh air.
The earth is my mother and my best friend too, a great provider for me and you. The earth is my mother and my best friend too, a great provider for me and you. Her ways are gentle,
ways are gentle,
her life is strong,
her life is strong,
living in tune like a beautiful song.
living in tune like a beautiful song.
There's only one thing
There's only one thing
she asks of me.
she asks of me.
I treat her as kindly as she treats me.
I treat her as kindly as she treats me.
The earth is my mother and my best friend too, a great provider for me and you. The earth is my mother and my best friend too, a great provider for me and you.
Thanks, Stephanie. I enjoyed the music today. Our next reading is from the book Active Hope by Joanna Macy. Active hope is not wishful thinking. Active hope is not waiting to be rescued by the Lone Ranger or by some savior. Active hope is waking up to the beauty of life on whose behalf we can act. We belong to this world. The web of life is calling us forth at this time. We've come a long way and are here to play our part. With active hope, we realize that there are adventures in store, strengths to discover, and comrades to link arms with. Active hope is a readiness to engage. Active hope is a readiness to discover the strengths in ourselves and in others, a readiness to discover the reasons for hope and the occasions for love, a readiness to discover the size and strength of our hearts, our quickness of mind, our steadiness of purpose, our own authority, our love for life, the liveliness of our curiosity, the unsuspected deep well of patience and diligence, the keenness of our senses, our capacity to lead. None of these can be discovered in an armchair or without risk. Joanna Macy.
Hi everybody, I'm Jack Zinda. This week marks the 50th anniversary of the first Earth Day, when thousands of local grassroots groups got together to call for a way of living that's healthy for people and for the rest of the Earth's inhabitants. This is an opportune time for reflecting on Unitarian Universalism's seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. The seventh principle commits us to connection with the people around us, within this congregation and beyond. Deer, hawks, frogs, dogs, and yes, slugs, near and far. Trees, shrubs, herbs, and mosses that make the stuff of our bodies by steadily drinking up sunlight. The fungi whose wellness is inseparable from the plants that they give nutriment, and all the churning, changing soils, rocks, waters, and gases that move among all. And the roads, pipes, wires, walls, and waste bins. We're connected to them too. Over the past few months, a group of us has been looking into embarking on an effort to collectively deepen how we live the seventh principle, called Green Sanctuary. Green Sanctuary is a UU initiative that calls congregations to commit to make every aspect of congregational life as environmentally responsible as possible. The program engages us in a process of reflection and reinvention over the course of 2 or 3 years. It challenges us to implement action plans to increase building sustainability, improve congregational practices, and create relationships within the wider community. These plans must include actions in 4 focus areas: environmental justice, worship and celebration, religious exploration, and sustainable living. We're embarking on a journey that we hope will not just help us take part in making this a more just and life-nurturing world, but deepen our connections to one another and all the world around us. The goals of this effort are environmental, but it's linked to all dimensions of our faith and community. Even if your core concerns are in other areas, we hope you will help us to see and develop links in the interconnected web of FUSEIT. We're thankful to the many who have already been part of this journey, and we invite all of you to join us. Now, several of us are going to share stories of why we are inspired to take the Green Sanctuary journey through environmental justice, worship and celebration, religious exploration, and sustainable living, starting with Deanna English.
Good morning. My name is Deanna English. I'm here to tell you a story about why I am drawn to the environmental justice part of the Green Sanctuary work. My parents both grew up on farms in eastern North Carolina. When I was young, I would spend part of my summer visiting both farms to spend time with my grandparents, my aunts, uncles, and cousins. I really loved that time on the farms. And when I had children, I wanted them to experience that too. In the mid-'80s, I took a trip with my children to visit my family on the farms. My mother's family farm was now being leased to a corporate hog farming operation. When I took my kids into the farm field to visit the pigs, I was shocked and confused about what I saw. The friendly and often funny pig friends I'd visited as a child were now living in crowded, smelly pens. Later, when I went to visit my father's family farm, I talked to my uncle, who was still farming. He told me about the changes that had come to that part of the state, how he didn't want to raise hogs that way and had to change how he made a living because he couldn't compete with the corporations. He told me about how neighboring farmers had to make similar decisions and how many people in this rural area were suffering as they lost their livelihood or changed their farming practices. I learned a lot that summer about where my food comes from and how the choices we all make surrounding food is often hurting people and animals in other areas of the country and the world. Here's a picture of my son, niece, and nephew that summer visiting some pigs. You can see a little pig in the back. Oops. You can see a pig in the background already approaching them. As Jack said earlier, environmental justice is woven throughout the work of becoming a green sanctuary. And as part of that work, we are asked as a congregation to choose one environmental justice issue in our community to focus on. Many of you likely have your own environmental justice story to tell and are drawn to working towards environmental justice in our community. As we move forward with the Green Sanctuary Project, I look forward to hearing your stories and working with you. Thank you and happy Earth Day.
Hello, I'm Carol Whitlow. I'll talk about the next Green Sanctuary focus, which is worship and celebration. As we work together towards a cleaner, more just and sustainable world, worship enables us to stay connected to each other and to celebrate the work we've accomplished. At FUSEIT, worship happens in many different places. Every Labor Day, 100 UUs pack their sleeping bags and jeans and journey north to Unirondack, a UU camp on a beautiful Adirondack Lake north of Utica. Many meetings over the preceding months bring folks together to plan supplies, menus, program, room assignments, and finances. Campers bring arrival night food to share along with conversation and games. We get lists of final rules and teams. The teams work together to prepare, serve, and clean up after a meal, thus they're named Sunday breakfast or Saturday dinner. The teams also work diligently to prepare skit for skit night, which is for some the highlight of the weekend. The highlight for me was the sermon from Mother Nature. During the Sunday service in the open air theater, attention was drawn from the people on the stage to the volleyball court sand, the very sand we'd been walking over all weekend. Children knelt around small holes watching baby turtles crawl out and make their way to the lake. No better sermon for me. Worship and celebration comes in many different styles. To some, it's a Unirondack Island swim, the campfire, or men's group or fabric art. To some, it's a sanctuary service on Sunday mornings. to others a sunrise over a wild mountain peak. What works is that we come together to celebrate being on this beautiful planet with one another in sustainable ways. The turtles, they manage to focus on living softly on the earth, and we can too.
Thanks, Carol. My name is Rich Angelos, and I wanted to talk to you about religious exploration in Green Sanctuary. Since RE, specifically children's RE, is how I came to become a UU. Shortly after our twin sons were born, my wife Beth wanted to go back to attending UU services, and not wanted to be parted from our children on the weekend, as we were separated during the week. And so she convinced me to come to the UU services in Wilmington, Delaware, to help with childcare. Our eldest child would head off to the children's religious exploration, and my wife and I would sit in the lounge area and listen to the services through speakers. As our children got older, we still wanted to spend time with them on the weekends. So we would volunteer to teach in CRE, which was strange to me since I really had no idea what UU was about at the time, and I'm only slowly getting there now. About 11 years ago, I fulfilled a growing passion of mine, and we uprooted our family to move to Ithaca for a career opportunity to help improve the environment. I took a job with a local company building software to help people understand how much energy savings they could achieve by making improvements to their homes and buildings. As soon as we settled into Ithaca, we started coming to FUSIT. We wanted a place that would reinforce our values in our children, and the UU Church and the religious exploration did just that. Religious exploration shapes more than minds. It shapes the attitudes and practices of children, families, and the entire adult congregation, while inspiring us to keep working toward our goal of sustainable practices. Next, Dick will talk about sustainable living.
Thanks, Rich, and good morning, everyone. My name is Dick Kurtz, and I want to talk today about sustainable living. I've always believed in treading softly on this earth. It started in my college years when I bought my first car, a VW, because I got 27 miles a gallon. And that was the first of many vehicles I owned that were fuel saving, just big enough for my needs, economical to operate. Later, as a homeowner, things like changing lamps to fluorescents in the 1980s and adding insulation to attics of homes I owned. Then, as an apartment owner, more focused on energy efficiency than on profits, putting rent monies into insulation, new thermopane windows, efficient heating systems, instead of into my pocket. Recently, just 3 years ago, I retired into Ithaca, where I tried to find a small house to rehab to today's energy standards, but finally realized I could build a modest home exceeding the standards, which brought me to the new net zero home I have today. And today, as a UU congregant and member of the Buildings and Grounds Committee, I think often of our own sanctuary, the one we wish we could be in this morning, though I probably see it in a different light than most of you. Like you, I do see a gracious old building of wood and stone that welcomes us warmly and is in a safe and an inviting place to meet, to share, to learn, to ponder. But just as I always have, I also see a building built in a different time when energy use was secondary, and most importantly, before understanding of the effects of energy use on our environment. It is that brings me here today. In our facilities, I see opportunities with challenges for change so that they reflect our beliefs and the realities of our world today, to make our physical bricks and mortar sanctuary into a green sanctuary, and I invite you to join us. Thank you.
All right, thanks to all four of you. We share these stories to show some of the ways that we have been drawn to the Green Sanctuary effort. We look forward to hearing your stories and creating a new story together. We would also like to thank Reverend Margaret for her encouragement and guidance so far. We would like to note that this is not the first time FUSIT has considered Green Sanctuary. In fact, a seasoned congregation member told us that the previous effort did not get pursued, in part because FUSIT was already doing many of the things the program suggests. We have a strong foundation to build on, from our regular environmental forums to our composting practices to the rich experience of many congregation members. Some of the possibilities we are exploring include bringing earth source heat for the Fuzit buildings into capital improvement plans, supporting congregation members in greening our homes, and joining the community effort to ensure an equitable and effective Green New Deal in Ithaca. When and how these things will unfold are uncertain, more than ever amid this pandemic, perplexing reminder that it is of our total interconnectedness. We face great uncertainty and cares that appropriately preoccupy us. But uncertainty can also bring promise. These days, many things we take for granted have been upended, opening possibilities to realize new, more just and compassionate ways of living. If you're interested in helping carry this effort forward, please reach out to us. We look forward in the coming years to deepening our collective engagement toward a just and sustainable future, further inspiring our worship with awareness of our links to the world around us, exploring the wisdom about living in this abundant world that thoughtful people and faith traditions have shared, and renewing our broader connections by working toward sustainability in our daily activities and in our civic engagement.
All right, our final song for today is Rewritten Words to You Are My Sunshine. I'd like to thank Marie Kautz, who's also a member of the Environmental Interest Circle, for bringing this song to the Unitarian Universalist Ukulele Union. And now we can sing it together today. You are my planet, my only planet, and there is nowhere else to roam. With your resources and natural forces, you are my planet, my one and only home. When I go paddling in the river, when I go sailing in the lake, the birds above me and fish below me are a part of nature's give and take. You are my planet, my only planet, and there is nowhere else to roam. With your resources and natural forces, you are my planet, my one and only home. When I go hiking in the mountains, when I go walking in the woods, I'm glad that wildlife is part of my life. It does my mind and my body good. You are my planet, my only planet, and there is nowhere else to roam. With your resources and natural forces, you are my planet, my one and only home.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, to you and your entire family for your musical contributions, and to the Environmental Interest Circle for this service. We extinguish this chalice, but not the hope, love, and courage it represents. We carry our love and our courage out into this beautiful and broken world. Our service is now ended. Let our true service begin. Please join us for our online coffee hour. The Zoom link can be found on the Fuzit website. Go in peace.